Hey guys, I know it's been a while. I finally got myself a brand spanking new 2023 Honda Civic Si. For those who don't know, it's a 1.5 liter turbocharged 6-speed manual car. It's pretty sweet, and it gives me a great opportunity to talk about turbos and what they do. I've never owned a car that had a turbo before, and I think a lot of people know that cars with turbos tend to perform better than they would without, right? Like, oh, it's got a turbo, it's fast, you know? Um, well, this car is relatively quick. Of course, it's not going to beat any Hellcats or anything like that, but it's still pretty dang fun. So let's talk about turbos, purpose, what they do. So the idea is to have fire, because remember, these are internal combustion engines, right? Inside the cylinder, fuel is ignited, which causes an explosion, which moves the piston, which moves your crankshaft, right? So everything comes down to being able to create fire in the engine, right? So fire needs three elements before it can start: fuel, heat, and oxygen, right? Fuel, heat, and oxygen. Gasoline would not burn in space, right? Because it's got no oxygen. So most cars, as they work, they draw in air like a syringe. So when the piston is traveling back downwards, it's drawing air through the intake valves like a syringe would draw fluid in. And that creates a slight vacuum on the way in. So once the piston, before it starts its compression stroke, the pressure inside the cylinder is actually probably lower than what it is at the atmosphere, right? So what a turbo does, so here's my air filter, right? Here's where the air comes in to the engine. Air filter, right? Goes to this intake. And if you follow it down, you'll see this tiny little turbo here. And if you notice, it's also connected to my exhaust. As the car runs, the exhaust spins an impeller inside the turbo, and that turbo actually pulls air through the intake, right? And pushes it down through this intercooler, which cools the air off, because when you compress air, it gets hot, so you got to cool it back off. And it force feeds air into the engine. And what that does is, as the piston is drawing down and the cylinder is filling with air, air is being forced in, which allows the cylinder to actually be at a pressure above atmosphere, which means there's more oxygen in the cylinder, which means you can create more forceful explosions inside the cylinder, which is allows you to have more power. So it's very simple. Basically, the turbo just forces more air into the engine. That's all it does. By the way, this is the tiniest little turbo I've ever seen, but it works pretty good. All right, have a good one.